Hi, and welcome to another edition of Strategic Business Insights. Today we're going to talk about doing what is necessary to achieve success. You want to be successful? You have to do what's necessary. More importantly and more specifically, you have to be willing to do what other people are unwilling to do. Okay? I see this in my own life. Time and time again. I remember when I first started my podcast. I did a podcast years ago in 2006, and it was intimidating. It was intimidating to make a recording similar to what I'm doing right now, but I was doing it just in audio format, and then putting that out into the public domain and being willing to accept the criticism and judgment of other people who might find it all on their own, right? But I told myself back then, I'm like, this is a phrase that I say to myself constantly. You have to be, I'm saying this to myself in my head, you have to be willing to do this. You have to be willing to take this risk. So my question for you is, what have you been needing to do? What is it for you? What is that step that you've been putting off to saying, I don't want to do it, it's hard, right? You're taking a risk, maybe you're feeling vulnerable, you're putting yourself out there, right? I know what that's like. What is it for you? And it's not just one thing. There's probably a dozen things that qualify, right? What are those things in your life? What have you been putting off, right? You have to be willing to do those things. You have to be willing to take that step, right? Take it today. Take it tomorrow, soon. Don't keep putting it off. Right? You only live once. You're born at one date and you're going to die at a different date. And right now you're in the middle of that time frame somewhere, right? So what are you going to do from here until the end? That's the only thing you have control over, right? I remember when I first published my first book, holy smokes, that was so intimidating for me. It was so intimidating, right? Or putting videos online, some of the things that I'm doing now. I get some critical comments on some of these videos, right? People say all kinds of stuff, right? And I say to myself over and over, I have to be willing to. Well, the first time in 2007, I spoke at a conference in Sweden, right? I flew all the way to Sweden and I spoke in front of these people. I was scared to death. And I remember there was like 5 or 6 steps that went up to the stage where I was speaking and the audience was all there, okay? I remember being introduced that day in Sweden in 2007. It was in November 2007. And I was like completely in a fog because of the time change. I just arrived the day before, totally disoriented. And I remember being at the base of those stairs and seeing those stairs in front of me and hearing my name, be introduced and walking up those stairs. And I was thinking to myself, you have to be willing to do this. You have to do this. If you want to get to where you want to be, you have to do this. What is it for you? What is it for you? What do you have to do? What have you been putting off? What is that obstacle that you've been saying, I just don't think I can do it? The same thing happened when I went to Dubai for the first time. That was even more intimidating because the entire audience was full of Arabs. They were all wearing their white headdresses or different white robes, right? They're Arabs, right? There's 350 of them. In a huge conference room in the Ritz-Carlton, Dubai. I have a video of it. You can find that video if you want. Unbelievable, okay? And it was the same thing. I was scared to death. And I remember walking up on that stage thinking to myself, this is insane, but you have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. So I challenge you to look at your life. There's always something, even if you've done a lot of things already in your life that took a lot of guts, right? I give credit, take credit, celebrate those victories, but there's still more, isn't there? There's still more that you could be doing that you haven't done because maybe you're scared. Just like I have been, just like we all are, right? It's intimidating. You have to take that risk. But challenge yourself to say, now is the time. I'm going to do it now. Because when you do, your comfort zone just gets blown out. You're willing to do more things. And just the fact that you do it, just the fact that you take the risk, earns you the credibility, even if it fails in many cases. Just take that risk. Put yourself out there. And people will see that you are a man of action, you are a woman of action. And that stands for more than almost anything else. If they know you're an action taker, they'll put more confidence in you than they will in anybody else. Take that risk. Thanks for watching my video. I appreciate it. My name is Patrick, reminding you to think bigger about your business. Think bigger about your life.